it's Mez. I'm kind of nervous, which is really weird because I normally talk in front of real humans and I don't get nervous. And talking in front of a screen is making me really, really nervous. So, but I've got Bandit here with me. If you can see that blob on the couch. Wait. That's you know what I'm saying. That's Bandit there. So, and Sean's here too. So there's going to be a few different, bunches of people here tonight. There's going to be people who are photographers, people who are photography hobbyists, enthusiasts, and then there's also probably going to be some VW Kombi enthusiasts. Because last year, Sean and I and Bandit, we travelled across Australia in our 1975 Kombi Etta. And as a photographer, I recorded that journey, and that's what this presentation is about. It is about our journey across Australia, the work I captured, and also at the end of me showing you some photos of Australia, I'm going to talk a little bit about authentic storytelling and techniques and things you can do to tell a more authentic story for yourself in your visual life. So I guess we'll just get straight into it. But I will actually mention that this event is sponsored by the MacArthur Photographic Society. They are down in MacArthur in the southwest of Sydney. If you feel the need like you want to join a photographic society for some socialization, some creative, mojo, then get onto them. They are on Facebook at MacArthur Photographic Society. Obviously, I was supposed to be giving this presentation in person to the Photographic Society. But yeah, a little thing called COVID-19 has sort of put the spanner in the works. So more people get to join in. So that's a positive. So I really hope you enjoy a COVID-19 free hour or so. I don't know how long this is going to go for because you're streaming. I might shorten it down. I tend to talk quite fast, so apologies. But if you want to ask questions during the stream, there is below an area where you can do that. And I can kind of see them as they pop up. But keep in mind, there's a lag between you and me. I'm in the future, you're in the past. So if I don't get to them straight away, I will get to them at the end, or I will at some point answer your questions. And ask me anything. Ask me anything about the VW, the dog, the husband, what I shoot with, photos, how I shot that, whatever. Ask me literally anything and I will tell you the answer to the best of my knowledge. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Meredith Schofield. I'm a photographer here in Wollongong, and at the moment things are a bit tough for everyone in the photographic industry. So I just put it out there, man. If you can help photographers, if you can buy their work or support them in any way, not cancel events that you might still be able to do, like a 2-on-2, like a 1-on-1 elopement, please don't cancel. We need the money. So just putting that out there. Support the arts. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. I'm going to transition here to me in the bottom corner. But if at any point I block the shot, I'll just get rid of me. Okay, so obviously this presentation is called Across Australian 80k's. For obvious reasons, Kombis don't go that fast. We went at 80k's an hour across the country. It took a really long time. So in March of 2019, my husband and I and our dog, we left on a journey across the country in our 1975 Volkswagen microbus, aka Kombi, affectionately known as Etta. She's a beautiful Kombi. And this is the journey we did, highlighted here in orange. This is the route we took. We did 22,413 kilometers, and it took us 3.5 months. It was supposed to take us 4 months, and we were supposed to go a little bit further, but 2 weeks before we were supposed to leave, we had a catastrophic engine failure. OMG. So my husband Sean, he was working in Bangladesh at the time in a refugee camp when I got the call from our mechanic that the engine could not be fixed and it was kaput. So with 2 weeks to go, what were we to do? Well, we rebuilt the whole engine ourselves in our garage in 4 weeks, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. So we're not mechanics. We know a little bit about cars from owning Etta and Ziggy, our beetle, for 4 years. But yeah, we had no idea what we were doing, but we did it. So yeah, we did it. So that was the journey we took. That was the half loop we did. So I'm just going to go through some photos. I really hope this doesn't end up sounding like a family slideshow night. I might just throw in a couple of tidbits about some photos, but if I talk about every photo, we will be here forever, as I am known to talk quite a lot. So this was at the beginning of our journey. This is Etta, the Kombi that I've been talking about. This is the River Murray, the Murray River, on the border of Victoria and South Australia. So I am a predominantly film shooter, but on the trip I shot, 85% digital due to ease, and I knew that I would be shooting a heavy amount of work. So I chose to mostly shoot digital. So again, if you have any questions, just let me know in the little discussion part down the bottom. So yeah, this is the South Australia border, and this is Etta again. This is just before you sort of hit Mildura. And as you can see, Etta is very photogenic, and the way I shoot her, I kind of shoot her like I would a person. She definitely has her own character and mystique and personality. So you'll realize that I talk about her quite a lot, like she's a person, because a lot of the time it feels like she is. So yeah, that's Etta. She's gorgeous. This is in the Barossa Valley. As you can see, one of Etta's eyes is a little bit bung. This is in the beautiful vineyards, early morning. That was one of the really great things about the trip, is getting up super early every morning and getting the beautiful sunrise light. So we slept in Etta, camped in her every single night. She was our home away from home for nearly 4 months. She has a giant bed in the back that we all slept on, including the dog. He was supposed to sleep on the floor, but he ended up sleeping on the bed most nights. And yeah, she was our little home away from home. As you can see, Etta has her own personalized plates. But yeah, in terms of my aesthetic and my style, I definitely use light a lot in my images. I use a lot of backlight. I use a lot of side light. I use a lot of orange light. And I don't tend to have overly saturated work. I tend to mute my colors quite a lot. And I'm going to get more into later about how, consistency in editing and consistency in your shooting style helps you tell authentic stories. This is obviously still all the Barossa. Beautiful morning light, beautiful mist, like perfect. From inside the cabin. So this is pretty much what it looks like driving an Etta, and it's quite an amazing vehicle to drive in as a road tripping vehicle, because it's a 360 degree view. We don't have curtains. We put up these little silver things at night to keep the cold out and the people out. And so yeah, when you're driving, you can literally see 360 degrees all the way around. Some beautiful misty morning light in the Barossa. We really loved the Barossa. We actually ended up going back there at the end of the trip because we loved it so much. Again, beautiful morning light, gorgeous shadows. So a lot of the stuff is slightly edited in post. I don't really overly edit my images. This is Bandit. He's asleep. I shoot Bandit quite a lot, and I shoot my husband quite a lot. You're going to see them a lot in the story because obviously that is part of the story. There's not a lot of shots of me, so if you do see a shot of me, it was taken by my husband, not the dog. This is another dog we met in the Barossa. He was quite old and just gorgeous. He was at a winery. He's actually very famous. He is in a book called Wine Dogs, a photographic book done by a photographer in Australia. No idea who it is. Sorry about that. He's a gorgeous boy. And look, we did meet a few Kombis on the way. This is the Arno Wine Company. They have their own Kombi, and we literally rocked up at the vineyard when it was closed in the Kombi, and they let us in. We got to see them making the vintage, and they gave us free wine. So that's what Kombi people do. You know, we look after each other. This is in South Australia. This is on the Flerino Peninsula. Some nice landscapes. This is like really weird just talking to no one, by the way. Gorgeous bandit. So the way I tell this visual story is through many different ways. I tell it through landscape. I tell it through moments between Bandit and Sean and myself. I tell it through details. And I try and create a visual story, not just like big, wide landscapes all the time and sunsets all the time and that kind of stuff. I'm trying to find those nuanced moments to help like fill out and create a full story. Gorgeous sunset. So yeah, South Australia has the best sunsets in the country, hands down. Like you'll never see one like it. In my work, I use a lot of silhouettes. So I use a lot of backlight and I use a lot of silhouettes. It's kind of like just a thing I really love. Gorgeous light. Also, the boat helps create scale in this image, which is really important. And I will talk about that at the end as well. Yeah, this is the same sunset. So you can see, I'll just go back a bit. It changed so much over a space of half an hour. It was really epic. And like I said, I don't overly edit my images. I don't saturate them. I actually lessen the saturation. So, I mean, Mother Nature, just gorgeous. Here's Etta on the beach. This was the first time we took Etta on the beach. It was a little bit nerve-wracking. But after we kind of, did it the first time, we ended up doing it again and again and again and again. We ended up taking her on a lot of roads that we probably shouldn't have, a lot of four-wheel drive roads. But the old girl did it, she got through it. Here is Sean and Bandit. This is down near Second Valley, Rapid Bay in South Australia. It was really weird light. You'll see in these photos here. Really strange light. It was just like this weird atmospheric haze mixed with the cloud, and it made everything just kind of like really contrasty, but like a giant softbox. It was so weird. I'd never seen light like it before in my life. It was so gorgeous. So yeah, this is all Rapid Bay. Yeah, if you have questions also about like our favorite places or I don't know, places you might want to go in your Kombi. I know everyone at the moment is in lockdown pretty much, but this might be something to kind of like look forward to for the future is, traveling our country is one of the best things you can do. I've traveled overseas quite a lot and nothing compares to Australia, to be honest. So when this whole thing is over and done with and we can go back to our normal lives, if you are going to go on a holiday, I highly recommend you travel around Australia, get some money back into the economy. This is Kangaroo Island. So obviously this was back in April of 2019, long before the fires. We actually this is Pennington Bay, and we came to the end of this like deserted road. And there was a coffee caravan there. We couldn't believe it. And this is their little seating area, and it's voted Lonely Planet's best view when you have coffee. You can see why. So this is down in Pennington Bay. Kangaroo Island's amazing. Again, if you can get over there, it is a little bit expensive to get over, but it's absolutely worth it. Absolutely. There's Bandit and Sean. Yeah, if there's a beach, then Bandit is very, very happy to be there. So you see, again, I'm using backlight, side light. I just love using this kind of light in my work. I feel like it just lifts it up. Gorgeous, gorgeous boys. So So this is quite a usual scene. Sean or I under the bus fixing something with Bandit by our side. And it just happened so that this beautiful rainbow came across at the right time. And yeah, Bandit will always be by your side while you're working on the bus. This is back up on the mainland, coming back off Kangaroo Island. This is coming back up the Florida Peninsula. I absolutely cannot remember where this is, but the river mouth meets the ocean and it's just amazing. That's the thing. We went to so many places, it's very hard to remember the names of them. So I'm trying very hard to make lists and labeling things for my archive. Here's Gorgeous Bandit. So yeah, we camped on a lot of beaches while we were away. And again, I'm using Etta and I'm using Bandit as part of my storytelling. They are characters in my story, just like Sean is, just like I am a character in the story. So you can see Etta has little eyelids. She is definitely like a little person. She has a nice smile, a buck tooth for her license plate. Oh, and again, I use silhouettes all the time in my work. Epic, epic sunsets. This is going down into Coffin Bay National Park. So usually, like with national parks, it's really hard traveling with the dog. So Bandit went into, like doggy daycare or a kennel. Or if we're just driving through a national park, if the curtains are closed, like in this photo, you can pretty much bet that Bandit is hidden in the back. This is, oh my God, where is this? This is near, what was that place where we camped in the, oh, we have a question. Yay. I love questions. Hi, this is from Brett. Hi, Meredith. What is your favorite focal length or lens on the trip? Okay. So my favorite focal length full stop is 50 mil. Like I live and die for 50 mil, like OMG. But on the trip, I shot quite a lot between 35 and 24 mil. Just, you don't realize how like vast, these landscapes are once you get out of the city, away from the coast. They're just so huge. And a lot of the time I wished I had a 16 mil, to be honest, but I don't. So a lot of the time I'm shooting at full 24 or a little bit zoomed into 35. But for more close-up stuff, I'm zoomed in like 100 mil or 50 standard. Maybe it's probably a good opportunity to talk about like what I brought with me. I brought way too much gear that I didn't use, thought I was going to use, didn't use. So I brought like 5 lenses. I brought 2 film cameras. I only used one of the film cameras, and I pretty much the whole time either used my 50 mil 1.8, the cheap, awesome 50 mil from Canon, or my 24-105 L series f4. Yeah, that's pretty much what I shot the whole trip on. I thought I was going to end up using my other lenses. I didn't. And I brought a tripod. I reckon I used it 3 times. So, I mean, I can talk more about that later. So yeah, we're still in South Australia here. This is on the Eyre Peninsula. No, the York. This is on the York Peninsula. Everywhere, like on these peninsulas in South Australia, you find these amazing sand dunes. Just so big, so untouched, like stunning, stunning, stunning. So we had a drone. So obviously, like such a great feature if you're going to travel Australia. And yeah, it just brought a whole different perspective to the journey, which I will actually talk about later on as well. Yeah, just a lot of these moments I'm shooting right outside like the Kombi window as we go past. Just little moments. This is down in Vivian Bay? No. Oh my God, I can't remember. It's on the York Peninsula in South Australia. From above, you can see Etta there in the corner. Beautiful sunrises and sunsets. Is this a sunrise? This is a sunrise. So you can see I don't oversaturate my work. I feel that it adds more. Less is always more. Amazing swell in South Australia. The biggest swell you are ever, ever, ever going to see. And actually, this might be a good opportunity to answer another question. Okay. Wait. Go. Sorry, my tech support. Can you please scroll down? Okay, so Shelby, okay, totally my sister, who else has that name, said, is mist difficult to capture? You're like, yes and no. A lot of the time you overexpose mist and it'll come out perfect. If you just shoot mid-grey, it'll look gross. So if you bump it, that exposure up by like +1 stop, like perfect, which is what I did here. Obviously, as well to get the shadow detail. Just overexpose it. But if you want to get rid of atmospheric haze or mist, chuck a polarizer on and you'll be sweet. Sophia asks, oh my God, there's so many nice comments. Thank you. Sophia asks, where did you shower? Bless. We had a solar shower that we made on the roof. So you can see in this picture, you see the roof rack. On the opposite side, there is a big black tube, PVC tube. We painted it black. We water sealed it and added a tap. And we filled it up at places where we could. And then during the day, it would get really, really hot because it was painted black. And then we could attach a hose to it with a little nozzle. And we would shower underneath that during the day wherever we could. And the water would be hot. So that's how we showered. But in all honesty, it was a few days between showers. It was a few days between showers. So you got used to each other's odors. And I don't think Bandit bathed once. But we went in the ocean every day almost, except when we got to the Northern Territory. Yeah, again, epic sunsets in South Australia. This is on the Eyre Peninsula or the York. I can't remember. I think it's the York. It's the Talia Caves. And you can just see little Bandit and little Sean there silhouetted nicely. So again, I'm using silhouettes. I love using silhouettes. I love using frame within a frame. Great compositional technique. And again, drone shot, great different perspective. This is Wollonga in South Australia. Just like amazing, crystal clear waters, so beautiful. Love using the drone. I actually think this is Sean's photo. It's really hard to tell with the drone because we both use it, but I think this is Sean's. This is Eyre Peninsula. Again, the swell is just like so epic, you can't even deal with it. And look, again, here's that atmospheric haze, that mist. All I do is I +1 stop, +0.5, +1 stop, and it really comes in and you can really see the mist. This was like my favorite thing on the whole trip to photograph. It was pouring rain and I shot this out the Kombi window in like a couple of seconds. So these are the dunes that are after Ceduna, right at the beginning of the Nullarbor, near Cactus Beach. And they're just stunning. They're all different shapes and sizes. They are just huge. They are so big and so amazing. And yeah, it was pouring rain. I just boom, out the passenger window, got a couple of shots off. So this is the beginning of the Nullarbor Plain. So right before there is all the trees disappear. So this is kind of like this next little bit is about the Nullarbor. So one of the times I used my tripod. This is pretty much the only reason I used my tripod. So yeah, getting every time I would hit the shutter for the 10-second timer, I would run back to the Kombi and Bandit would get so excited by me running, he would bark. So you could see he's howling and his tail's up in the air. He's so excited that I'm running. Because it's really hard as a photographer to be like in photos. But I'm lucky that Sean, my husband, he's pretty good at taking photos as well. So there is a few of me that he has taken. This is obviously at the Nullarbor Roadhouse, very famous. And it was probably the only day that it rained on the entire trip. So we were gone for nearly 4 months. It was the only day it rained. Pretty much, yeah. So yeah, just absolutely stunning flat plains for just as far as you can even possibly imagine. It's all limestone. It's like the biggest limestone plateau in the world. It's just unbelievable. It used to be under the ocean. Yeah, again, from inside the cabin. This is like a shot I take time and time again when we're traveling. I drive probably 40% of the time, Shauno? Mm-hmm. Yeah, about 40% of the time, and Sean does about 60%. So these are the Bunda Cliffs. Absolutely stunning. They're huge. Huge limestone cliffs just after the Great Australian Bight. And we decided to put the drone up that day, and it was so windy. so windy. But you can see the perspective I'm getting here, showing the end of Australia and the drop off and the cliffs. I can't get that shooting on the ground. I have to be up higher, and the only way to do that is with a drone. So here's another example. Adding a drone to your toolkit, I highly recommend it. Highly, highly recommend it. This is just a campsite on the Nullarbor. Is there any? I'm just gonna have a look, see if there's any questiones. Do you give lessons? Okay, we can talk about that at the end. Where do you live? What is the key to? Okay, Hero says, what is the key to a good silhouette shot? Okay, I'm going to answer that actually when we come to another silhouette shot, because then I'll have a visual aid to explain it. Shauna, you could read me some if you wanted to. Oh, here we go. Mark says, hi, Meredith. Absolutely love your work. Do you ever use a tripod? Rarely. I'm my brain goes at 1,000 kilometers an hour, as you could probably tell. And I just feel like tripods just slow me down. They anchor me too much, and I don't really use them. If I'm doing studio work, I use them. But if I'm not, I rarely do, unless I'm doing a long exposure. I just find they anchor me too much, whereas I want to move around. I want to go up and down, crouch. I'm like a little assassin trying to find the shot and shoot. So this is still on the Nullarbor. This is obviously the SAWA border, one of the only times I used a tripod. All right, now we're into Western Australia. Okay, this is Esperance, probably one of the most amazing places you can go to in Australia. And this is, oh my God, Sean, what's this place called? Where we stayed. Oh my God, how can we forget? It'll come to me. Anyway, it's in Esperance. It's just gorgeous. We camped in this car park for 7 days. Tranquility? No, not Tranquility. It'll come to me. Yeah, it's just absolutely stunning. So we'd get up every morning super early, get out and shoot. Totally dog friendly. Esperance is so dog friendly. And again, these colors, that's not me. That's nature. I'm not enhancing that too much in any way. Yeah, Bandit loved Esperance. This is still in Esperance, but it's sort of just before the national park, the Cape Le Grand National Park. And this was a really interesting day because it's probably one of the hardest one of the hardest beaches we drove on, because the sand, you can see, is so soft and fluffy. So we let the tires down and we kind of made our way over it, and we got to this little spot on the beach and spent the day. On the way back, we hit a hole in the sand, and the whole roof rack collapsed onto the roof of the Kombi. So it wasn't too much damage, but we've since had it fixed. We got it fixed when we came back, but it was oh my God, it was just the most hectic moment. We landed and you heard this thump, and I was just oh my God, what was that? We got out and I saw that it had bellied on the roof, and I honestly couldn't believe my eyes. Twilight Cove. Twilight Cove. This is Twilight Cove. Very, very stunning. And so because the roof rack had collapsed, when we sort of went back to Twilight Cove with our tails between our legs, there was this awesome family there who ran this ice creamery who were, we offered them our camping gear that was on the roof. So we had tables and chairs that we only used a couple of times, and we offered it to them for free just to take it off our hands so we get the weight off the roof. And they ended up giving us 2 massive chalk tops for free. So it was a really good deal, we thought. as soon as you get into WA, it is extremely noticeable that the flora is truly stunning and so different to the East Coast. This is like the beginning of a biodiversity hotspot in the world, and we weren't even there in, flowering season, but the plants were just stunning everywhere we went. Like, we couldn't believe it. Here's Shauno on the beach. A lot of the time when we would go to the beaches in the bus, all these people in four-wheel drives would tell us not to do it, and then we would do it, and then and then they would be really surprised. So yeah, this is all Cape Le Grand National Park. Probably one of the only cloudy days of the trip. So here we are again back at Twilight Cove, our favorite hotspot. Again, these are the colors. And you can see I'm either shooting super wide or super zoomed in. And I often awkwardly stalk other people that I think are going to look great in photos. Most of the time they're cool with it. Great shot from the drone looking down. I think Shauno took this one. So this photo's gone a long way. It's been all over the Western Australia tourism website and Instagrams. It's in Ravensthorpe, and it's an amazing art piece. And yeah, we basically just shoved Etta in front of it and took the shot. This is in Bremer Bay. One thing that I did do to this image actually is there was so much seaweed, and I just took it out. It made it look so much cleaner. I rarely do that with my photos, especially if I'm sort of storytelling, but it was just way too distracting. And I love how you can see Sean and Bandit in the background. There was no one there. We camped there all night. It was so good. This is Albany. This is, again, more stunning plants. And again, you can see I love backlight. Epic morning clouds. So this is getting into the Margaret River in southwest WA. This is that famous surf beach where they have the surf classics. Great spot to hang out. Lots of sharks. So you just find a little rock pool to swim in. Shawnee falling asleep. So I like to try and, get these little moments where Sean doesn't realize that I'm taking his photo. It helps tell the story, and I'll talk more about that later. Usually he wakes up halfway through when he hears the click. So this is the Kari Kari Forest in the Margaret River. Honestly, like one of the most epic places that we went. I wonder how many times, Sean, I got you to turn around and go back so I could get the shot again. So sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's like, quick, go around again. I'll get out here. I'll run up here, and then you turn around and come. Yeah, that happens a lot. Sean's very patient. Again, just more stunning flora. This is quite a famous natural spa. So you kind of go in here, and the waves come in and create this like bubbling spa thing. And there was no one there. It was freezing cold. We got our kit off and went for it. This is Bunbury. Black Diamond Lake. So yeah, Sean is a musician, and so yeah, I would just get these little moments where I was taking photos and I would just sneak up on him. So obviously this is Rottnest Island. So Bandit could not come there. He had to stay on the mainland in Perth because he probably would have eaten the quokkas. Wouldn't you, Bandit? This is in Freo. So obviously this is little creatures. This is more for like the Kombi people. There's a lot of photos in here for Kombi people and some photos for photography people. It's like a bit of a mix. So yeah, we got pride of place parking at the brewery, and we pretty much drank there every day for a week, I think, Sean. This is Perth. Perth is awesome. It's like a cleaner, nicer, less busy Sydney. This is Lanceland Dunes, just north of Perth. Again, a really unique and weird light. It's sun setting, but just the atmospheric haze at the horizon just made it this really unusual light. And I was just like, gotta get this. This is the next morning at the same place. Again, I'm using silhouette. Okay, so I'll get back to that question from Hero of like, what's the best way to get a silhouette? You just expose for the lightest part in the image. So in this case, maybe not the lightest, but the part you want detail in. So here I probably exposed for the sky to the right of Sean and Bandit. And yeah, so it's really bright. So you just underexpose it by probably 2 stops and boom, you got yourself a silhouette. I do a lot of my light measuring by the zone system just from my mind. So I look at what my meter's saying and then I go plus or minus to what I think the light's doing in front of me, and it's usually spot on. Again, I love backlight. So yeah, I use Etta a lot to illustrate landscapes. She helps bring scale to a lot of things, and she helps like create interest in foreground. This is from the drone. Pretty sure Shauno took this one. It's the Lancelin Dunes. This is the Pinnacles. Oh my God. If you go anywhere, you got to go here. It's so amazing. You got to go at sunset into dusk. And one thing we didn't realize when we were there, it was a full moon rising, and it was just insane. You'll see the photos in a minute. But yeah, you can see I love backlight. It's like my MO. Gorgeous Etta. So this is the full moon rising over the Pinnacles. This is probably like my favorite shot I took on the whole trip. And portrait version. Yeah, it's truly stunning. So it pays to hang around and stay in these places for sunset. Yeah, just stunning. And then at night, all these little wallabies come out and hang around there. This is Kalbarri. This is a 4-wheel drive track we went down and ended up going, oh, we can't go any further. So yeah, we took Etta down a lot of tracks we shouldn't have, but she made it. This is Hutt Lagoon. So Hutt Lagoon's quite famous. It's a pink lake. It's stunning. But most people go to the eastern side of it. That's terrible. If you go to the western side, it's much more beautiful, much more isolated. There's no people there. There's no tourists. And yeah, you get way better shots. So it's a big salt lake. And from the air, so it looks pink, maroon, white, pale pink in different areas. And from above, this is what it looks like. So like a lot of the time I see these kind of shots on Instagram and stuff like that where everything's been like oversaturated to the max. This is not. This is exactly what it looked like. It was just next level. Just beautiful, stunning colors. So I just love making the shapes. All the texture from the salt. This is kind of like far back. You can see Etta there in the middle. Just to get an idea of what it looked like. So a lot of time if I rock up to a place like this, I'll assess and I'll be like, okay, how am I going to shoot this? Usually I try, obviously in this circumstance, I try shooting from the ground and I get some interesting shots like back here. Some more detailed shots of the salt, but then I put the drone up and I know I'm going to get so much better shots because I can just look down and see the patterns and the color. Texture. This is back at Kalbarri. There's Shauno. Obviously, you can see I use Etta so much in my work because she's so beautiful. Don't really think you can do that with a modern car. Here's my Pajero. It's not as interesting. Yeah, just beautiful. This is the Kalbarri National Park, and there's an inland side and an ocean side, and this is the ocean side, and we got there really, really late, so I shot this on like 3200 ISO, handheld, 30th of a second, trying not to move, and I think I got some cool shots. Especially of the ocean, with just that last bit of sunset hitting the back of the waves. I mean, I could have used a tripod, but I didn't want any lag or drag on the waves. I wanted them pinprick and frozen. This is down near, oh my God, this is the fishbowl. Where is that? South of Exmouth, south of Carnarvon. Yeah, south of Carnarvon? Yeah, beginning of the Ningaloo Reef. Sean is here. He's helping me jog my memory. Oh, okay. Actually, there was a story I totally forgot to tell. So back in Esperance, when we were camped up one day up on the beach, this guy, probably in his 70s, he parked next to us. He had like a vintage Land Rover, like early 70s. And he told us about this story about his dad who got a brand new Kombi in like 1973 or something and drove it to go fishing in Exmouth. And he drove it up onto the dunes near Mauritius Beach in Exmouth and parked it up, got his fishing gear out. He's walking away from the Kombi and then he looks back and the whole Kombi is on fire. So what had happened, so this is actually a good photo, at the back of Etta where her bumper is, that's where her engine is. It's at the back. She's air cooled. The air goes in through these little slots and cools the engine. And so the engine's really low on the ground. So what had happened, he'd parked up on these sand dunes and he'd parked on Spinifex. And the Spinifex caught fire because the engine was hot, obviously, and it torched the whole thing. So I met this guy, he tells us the story, and he's like, I'm pretty sure the wreck is still there. It's at Mauritius Beach, about 100 meters to the left of the car park. So obviously, when we went to Exmouth, we found it. And it was sort of still there. So the engine was like, there was pistons still there, the engine lock was still there, but obviously most of it's gone. But so that was like in the 70s, and it's still there. It was like a Kombi treasure hunt. This is just south of Shark Bay. Again, it's from the drone. Big salt producing area. So yeah, really love the drone. So this is Shark Bay on Shell Beach. Shauno playing the guitar. This whole area is so beautiful. It really starts to kind of start turning a bit red in the earth, like the Pilbara, but it's still sort of like super green and like super coastal. The water is like crystal clear in Exmouth. It's just amazing. We actually swam with the whale sharks, but I do not have any pictures of them. Here's Sean and Bando relaxing. It's a pretty common sight. See, a lot of the time, like, we'll just be chilling and I'll just quickly pop out and I'll take a couple of shots and I'll get back in. I don't want to be shooting like the whole trip. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the time I don't shoot, to be honest. There's Bandy asleep. Beautiful sunset over Exmouth. Again, I'm using silhouettes. So I would have, in the right-hand side, sort of down the bottom where the boy is, I would have exposed for that sky behind him, the brightest part, and I probably would have minus half a stop, and that's my exposure. Then I refocus, and that's how I get it. So with this, I go a little bit over. So instead of focusing for the bright orange part, I know I want some detail, a little bit of light on Sean's face. So I'll get that exposure for the light behind him, and then I'll just oomph it a little bit by a third. And I think I might have even brought back some of that shadow in post. So yeah, digital, shoot for highlights, edit for shadows. The complete opposite to film. Shark Bay, little Etta. Carnarvon. Just the bougainvillea was too beautiful not to shoot. Etta's wheels are really dirty in this shot. This is, some national park. Oh, where there was all these beautiful flowers. We just drove around. It was so amazing. Shot like at freaking midday. So you can still get awesome shots at midday. This is so out of order. This is the canyons around Exmouth. So just before the national park starts. So if you go up into the canyons, you can kind of go most of the way with the dog, but like do not let your dog out of the car. There's dingoes everywhere. So yeah, this is up in the canyons. Again, backlight, dirt, perfect situation. It's moments like these, like I remember this evening, I was honestly like drunk on photography because the light was so good. And this is obviously also another common sight. Like for some reason, Etta starts making a weird sound or something goes wrong and it's either me or Sean at the back trying to sort it out. We didn't break down once on the whole trip. Hi, Mez. What was your favorite? George asks, hi, Mez. What was your favorite place to photograph? Oh, I would definitely say Exmouth, where we are now. Just because of the light, it was just crazy. And like the water was so crystal clear. And yeah, the canyons are stunning. It was just like a crazy place. So yeah, probably Exmouth and Esperance. But then Ullaru's so amazing. You'll see photos of that soon. This is the Blowhole. I forget the name of it. Oh my God, I should have prepared for this better. Just awesome. Just at the beginning of the Ningaloo Reef. Here's Bandy, Sean in the evening. Full moon rising. So I did this presentation for another camera club, and one guy asked me, how do you shoot the moon and it not blow out? And the trick is you have to shoot it as soon as it's rising, because it's when it's the biggest, and the atmospheric haze is going to protect it and make it so that it's not blown out. The highlights are not blown out. So as soon as it gets high, you can't really shoot it anymore with the foreground or the landscape, being exposed as well. It'll blow straight out and you'll lose all detail. So the trick is to shoot it when it's rising, when it's really low. So I like really clean lines in my landscapes. So this is going into the Pilbara. So I'm kind of going to just speed a little bit along. This is the Hammersley Ranges because I'm probably talking way too much. Spin effects. So that would have been the spin effects that set the Kombi on fire. It's everywhere. So yeah, the Hammersley Ranges. So the drive from Exmouth into Tom Price, where Karijini National Park is, the most amazing drive of the whole country. Big mining trains. So this is the Karijini National Park. And yeah, I definitely have a thing for trees. It's probably one of my favorite shots I took. So the trick to backlight is overexpose. So the exposure I would have taken here would have been the tree trunk. It's probably probably a stopover of what my meter's telling me. Yeah, I just blow it. You just blow the highlights. That's how you get good flare. So this is if you don't blow the highlights, that's what it will look like. It will sort of look haloed. And then when you blow it, it'll look like that. So yeah, shoot straight into the sun. Yeah, gorgeous afternoon light. Coming into Broome. So you can see how the landscape just totally changes. Again, I love clean lines. This is Cable Beach in Broome. The only two-wheel drive on the beach. It took a fair bit to get over the rocks, but we did it. Again, this is almost, you would say, a silhouette on the right, but I've just pumped up the exposure just a little. So I get a little bit of detail on Sean's neck and his legs. Yeah, I basically just stalk them half the time. Again, I love clean lines and I love using negative space. And I'll talk more about that later. Again, sort of a silhouette. Definitely a silhouette. This is still Broome, the other beach that you can go to. This is up at Cape Leveque. Probably the hardest road we drove on. 40k's of just the most corrugated roads you can ever imagine. Took us 3 hours. But just stunning. Campfires. Hermit crabs. Only people there. Now back into the Kimberley, clearly. This moment, Sean was telling me how I should have taken the shot, and he's walking over to me to correct what I was doing. Misty morning. Trees, trees, trees. This is Kununurra. So I'm skipping a lot of parts. I'm not going to show you the whole trip. But yeah, Kununurra is just stunning. A stunning place. That's Lake Kununurra. Love capturing details. Again, using backlight. Up at the five islands lookout, 5 ways lookout up near, oh my God, I so should have looked at the map before I did this. Shauna, is there any interesting questions that I can answer?
Jim is asking, Meredith, can you point out where some images are film images and which ones are digital?
No, this is all digital. All digital. Nah. So that's kind of part of it. If I want a story to flow, it's either all on film or all on digital. That's a great question. These are all digital. It was just easier. Like, it's just so much easier. I shot 12,000 photos. Just let that sink in. Imagine what that would have cost me on film. Obviously, I wouldn't have shot that much if it was film, but still, just the ease of digital. I haven't, to be honest, I don't even think I've developed my film yet from the trip. I tend to do that. I hoard film. The Kimberley's beautiful. If you go anywhere, go to the Kimberley. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to a lot of areas because we had a 2-wheel drive, but the areas you can get to are stunning. Good old Etta. What? Sean's laughing. Missed Wolf Creek. Any reasons? Ha ha ha. Well, obvious reasons. This is Lake Argyle. Oh, so beautiful. And this guy was so nice. I had a feeling he was a photographer because he just let me take so many photos of him, and he kind of gave me that look, you know. So again, I'm shooting backlit. It's my favorite thing to do. And Bandit backlit. Again, clean lines, negative space. That's my MO. And here we go. The third time I used the tripod. Seriously, I think that's when we crossed the borders. That's when I used the tripod. Heading into the NT. Beautiful Bandit. This is Mataranka. Gorgeous moment between the boys. Kalu Kalu, aka Devil's Marbles. We spent a lot of time here in the afternoon. Took a lot of drone footage. Just stunning side light. Beautiful in the afternoon. Yeah, that's the thing. If we were in a stunning place, which was pretty much everywhere, you'd stay longer because you wanted to shoot the sunrise, you wanted to shoot the sunset, you wanted to shoot during the day to get all kinds of different light. So if you have the time, I recommend doing that. You can see Etta down in the front there to the left. And so the flies here were so bad. So we ended up giving Bandit one of our fly nets. So as you can see, there he is with the fly net over his head. Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be a few pictures of Bandit here, so I'll just quickly talk about traveling with the dog. I highly recommend it. You've got to keep him safe though. And yeah, we wouldn't have done it any other way. And he's really great to photograph. Look at him in that picture on the left. He's so handsome. You're so handsome, Bandy. He's out like a light. With 12K photos, how do you cull then curate your presentation? Well, look, it's a hefty beast. I kind of pretty much, this is what I do is I open Lightroom. They all go in there. I separate them into collections of states, and then I honestly I go through and I just go anything that takes my fancy, I mark as a 1 star, and I just go one next, no, one, no, 1, no, 1, no, 1, no, 1. This is before I edit. Then I go through those, and then I 2-star the ones I like better. So I go 2, next, 2, next, right? And then I edit those. And then from there, the ones that come out, better in the edit will be 3 stars. And they're the ones that I kind of focus my main attention on. But really, the ones I pick for presentations, I honestly just think back to the story and what I think will work best. But because I don't over edit, and I've put a lot of time and effort into my own presets. So I can edit really, really quickly. Isn't he gorgeous? He's literally the best dog ever. So, for any of you who don't know about Bandit, we rescued Bandit a couple of years ago. He was found hitchhiking on the road in Victoria, and he was picked up by some backpackers and brought to Bondi Beach. He had a broken back, a broken pelvis, a broken leg. It had all healed funny, and he walked really weird. He couldn't go upstairs. He couldn't jump. He couldn't run. So yeah, we adopted him and got him in shape, and now he's a really happy boy, and he can run and jump and play, and yeah, he's just the most loyalist dog ever. Obviously, backlit. This is still all kalu kalu. The bushland around there is stunning. And this was probably the only moment on the trip where I couldn't capture the light. It was just too epic that my digital sensor just said no. It couldn't do it. It absolutely couldn't do it. And I remember what it looked like in my mind, but my camera couldn't do it. This is all in the West Macs, the West MacDonnell Ranges, outside of Alice Springs. I'll probably try and talk for maybe another 20 because I know that, people don't want to listen to me blather on for too long. But I'm going to answer all your questions, so don't worry. Again, this is, Simpsons Gap. Stunning. Not too many people there, which was great. This is going to a huge meteorite just outside the West Macs. This is very obvious what it is. This is Uluru. So I'd never been there before, and whatever you think it's going to be, it's 10 million times more amazing than you think it's going to be. Like, you think you know, you don't know until you see it. It's definitely the number one thing you have to do in your life. You must see it. That is very self-explanatory. Yeah, shooting it we stayed 3 or 4 days. This was long before the crowds of people were coming to climb it for the last time, so we were pretty lucky. But yeah, capturing it at sunrise, sunset, everywhere around it. There's a lot of places you can't shoot, so I didn't shoot them, so no one needs to worry about what they're going to see. But it's stunning. I mean, yeah, you got to go see it. So yeah, I like to shoot obviously wide, I like to shoot mid, and I like to shoot detail shots of things, and I'll get into that a bit more in a minute. This is our watering hole inside, because there's a lot of parts of Uluru where you kind of walk inside. Yeah, it's just stunning. This is probably one of my favorite photos I captured on the whole trip at dusk of Uluru. But yeah, there is a lot of bogans, but like if you can kind of time it, and it is a really amazing thing to do. And the Olgas are amazing too. I didn't include any photos of them, but they're amazing. Again, this is like inside of Uluru. Leaving Uluru. Bandy. Kangaroo. Every time we'd see kangaroos, Bandit would get so excited because he actually eats kangaroo for dinner. Back in South Australia. So we, again, like on the map, we went down the guts. This is the breakaways. This is another place, if you ever get the chance, it's near Coober Pedy, you have to do it. They call it the Painted Desert. You can see why. This is not an oversaturation. This is what it looked like. It was truly stunning. Yeah, we were the only people there. This is the dog-proof fence. And Bandit actually, in an act of defiance, he weed on it. Very defiant. So here you see I'm using Etta to kind of get a scale of things. And I'll talk about that later too. That was another situation where I was like, go back, turn around, come back. Did it a couple of times to get some different shots. This is Lake Hart, Salt Lake. Details. Mid shots. Bandit actually cut his feet on this salt. So in all the other photos, you'll see little bandages on his paws. That was our fault. This is the Flinders Ranges. See the bandages? So I'll talk more about this later, but a lot of the time, if I've got people in my shots and they're looking out, I give them lead. So you see Bandit is looking out to the right, I give him lead. I give him negative space for him to look out on. If I crop that too close, it's not helping tell my story. Same with Bandit and Sean on the right-hand side. They're looking out to the left. I give them space. I give the viewer lead so they can look out at what they are looking at. That is a good storytelling technique. Everyone who comes to the photographic clubs where I judge, they all know that I say that all the time. I say negative space, give me lead. Give me space for the viewer to look. This is all Flinders Ranges. Again, another place, if you get the chance, do it. If you're a landscape photographer, you will not regret it. Just great landscapes. It was really dry. It was in the drought. Very, very dry, but worth it. And I have a feeling that may be the end of that bit. Boom! So, here's where we're going to get into a little bit more like authentic storytelling. It's not going to go for too much longer, so don't worry. So what makes good photography? That's like a massive question, right? What the hell, Mez? Too big of a question. Okay, nice light, good composition, interesting subject. But seriously, you can have all those things and it doesn't mean anything if your images don't have story or feeling and emotion or a level of engagement. If it's just like that saying, all the gear, no idea. If you've got the right exposure and the best lens and the best camera and you've got good composition, that's great. But if you don't have story, if you don't have feeling and emotion, or you don't have engagement in your images, they will fall flat and the viewer will not engage. So, okay, like how do we do that? We do it by telling authentic stories. How do we tell authentic stories? This is how we tell authentic stories. There's many topics, but I'm going to kind of just go through them. Consistency. You have to have consistency in your visual story from capture to post-production. If you're putting a group of work together and you want to tell a visual narrative and you have post-production all over the shop, up and down, different from one image to the next, and the way you edit, it is not going to carry through into a story. The way you capture things, if you don't have a level of consistency, it will fall flat. You just saw a whole body of my work. I have consistency when I shoot. I have things that I like to do, ways I like to shoot, ways I like to compose, light that I like to capture. So that is how I'm being consistent in my storytelling, from capture to post-production, how I capture the light, how I edit the light. Research. So obviously in this kind of story scenario of a travel scenario, like going around Australia, look, I didn't do too much research, but mostly I shoot social documentary photography for different clients. And I will always research who I'm shooting, what I'm shooting it for before I get there. If I don't do my research, I cannot create a visual story. Assess. So when I get to a situation that I'm going to shoot, a different environment, a place, whatever it is, I look around and I assess and I think in my mind, how am I going to define the story outline? Control. This is the most important thing. Controlling your visual narrative. How do you control your visual narrative? Mostly through composition, but also like through the types of shots that you're capturing. So if I'm coming up to a story, a scene, a location, an event, whatever it is, I'm always going to go for the wide shot, the medium shot, and the close-up detail shot. All of these shots together help tell my visual story. If I just have wide shots, or I just have mid shots, or I just have detail shots, I am not telling a full visual story. You have to have all three, a mix of them. These are some examples from the trip. Wide down the bottom left, mid in the top left, detail in the right. This is one location. I'm telling the visual story through how I'm choosing to capture it. Another example. Wide, the beach. Medium, Sean and Bandit. You can see where Sean is in the environment. Close up, Bandit and the ball. This is telling the story. They're at the beach, they're hanging out together, Bandit's got the ball. That's the story. Here in Bremer Bay, the wide shot in the right. You can see Bandit and Sean in the background. They're on a beach. There's the Kombi. Medium shot, the back of Etta looking out into the ocean. You can see where we're parked. Close up is the front of Etta and the plant. The Great Australian Bight. Wide up the top. Medium, the view hole. Close up, the bushes and the sign. All of these together, combined with other shots you take, help tell your visual narrative. Another version. Wide, Bandit and the Kombi. Medium, me playing with Bandit. Close up, Bandit and his ball. That's the story. If it's all wide or all close up of Bandit, what is the story? You don't know. You have to put people in a time and place. Other examples. So this is just some other examples from some other work I have done. I feel like they illustrate more because this is what I do for my job. This is the Pauline McLeod Awards. Wide at Bondi, medium on the left, close up. Without a doubt, it never fails. Wide on the beach, close up, the people talking and laughing. Detail, the armband, the paint on the skin. There's a wedding shoot. Same thing. It's a wedding is a story. Wide shot, Etta, Parliament House, Canberra, couple. Medium shot, couple in a small environment. Reflection, you can see they're shot from the knee up. Mid shot. Close up, the ring, her face. This tells the story. Details are really important. I don't like it when people don't give detail. These are just some details I captured on the trip. I just feel like they enhance your story so much and they create a level of intimacy. Some of these you might have already seen. So this is a huge thing for me. Capture natural moments, not manufactured ones. This is really happening. I've been lucky enough to grab it. He's smiling at me. I didn't tell him to do that. So a lot of the time with my social documentary work, I'm only capturing natural moments. I do not talk to anyone. I'm a fly on the wall. I'm capturing what's happening in front of me. Like I said, you've probably seen some of these. But these are just all natural moments. They help tell stories. Natural, real moments tell stories. Posed moments, fake moments, they don't tell the story as well. Okay, if you're going to pose, keep pose shots natural looking or very well intentionally placed. Don't do snapshots. That's for your iPhone. I told them to do that. I told them to do that. I told him to do that. Very well placed. It's meant to be a pose shot. I told them to stand there. We did that. So this is a moment where he was sitting there and I got a shot of him looking away. He didn't know I was there. That's a natural moment. And then all I say to him is, Sean, look here. He pops his eyes up and I get a shot. It's not superposed and it's not supernatural. It's somewhere in between. Again, he was lying there and I said, Bandy, look at me. And he looked at me. Same here again. I have the ball in my right hand. He's looking at the ball. Same with Sean. Sean, stay there. Hold that. So yes, it's a natural moment, but I'm controlling it. You do this a lot in wedding photography. Again, you saw these shots before. I told him, stay. I told Sean, look out there. So they're really there. It's happening. They're walking up there. It's a natural moment. And I say, can you just stop there? Can you just stop there? Look out. Look out. So it's a natural moment, but I'm manufacturing it a little bit. Timing. Okay, so timing is so important in storytelling. Choose your timing. Use it as a tool of anticipation and composition. You can see in your mind the car going around the curve. You can see in your mind the man running to the right. His foot is up. If his foot is down, bad timing. Getting Etta perfectly in those trees, perfect timing. Getting the blowhole, perfect timing. Getting them in a semi-leap of running and perfectly placed, perfect timing. A lot of the time, I'm waiting until the moment. Or bandit with all his paws off the ground. Perfect timing, anticipation. In your mind, you can see him continuing to run. If his feet are flat on the ground, you will not see him in your mind running. Anticipation. The wave's just about to crash down. Anticipation. You can see the rest of the scene happening in your mind. That will keep your viewer in your image for longer. Okay, mood. This is a huge one. Create mood with and feeling with light. Obviously, I talk a lot about how I use light. So, okay, what can light do? It can help us illustrate the following in an image. Time, that's obvious. Weather, that's obvious. Depth and distance, that's obvious. Side lighting creates more depth. Composition, if you have a beam of light cutting across the frame, that is going to help your composition. It creates mood, feeling, and obviously it creates color. These are just some examples. How light creates mood and feeling. And it doesn't have to all be airy side light. That helps. That's it, you know. It can be sort of beautiful side light with some cloud and deep shadows. That creates a mood. Totally backlit, completely flat and misty. That's creating a mood. Clear, blue as day, 12 p.m. That's a mood. Connection. So because you've just seen a whole bunch of photos of Bandit and Sean, I'm just going to quickly show you some other work that I've done that helps illustrate connection. So if you have no connection with your subject, it will show. The only way you can do that is through your personality and the way you talk to people and the way you direct them. If you're shy and you can't connect with other people, you find that difficult, it will show in your work. Connection. Connection. It helps to be a little bit bubbly, very easygoing, and, not a perfectionist, not a stress head. Ease people into it. Get to know people before you shoot them. This is all work I've done for the government. If I don't have a connection with them, are they going to do that in front of me? No, they're not. I've gotten to know them. We've had a cup of tea. We've had a chat. I've told some jokes. It's light. It's fun. If I just go in and I'm staunch or I'm too bossy or I'm cold, I will never, ever get an authentic moment. Again, this is kind of like I told them to do these things, but because I've put them at ease and I've made a connection with them and I've gotten them to do something that they normally do together, that's not outside the realm of what they experience, it looks very authentic and feels authentic because it is, even though I've told them to do it. Composition. I'm not going to go too much into this because we could talk about composition for 8 million years and I could easily do a whole other YouTube live on it. But your composition is everything, but I want to just talk about making use of negative space and not cutting off information that you need and not including information that isn't needed. I see this all the time with people's work. Negative space, use it. It helps your landscapes breathe. Don't be afraid to just have blank areas. I often do really unusual compositions where I put the horizon super low. So this is what I was talking about before about leading eye. His eye is looking out to the left. I need to give the viewer space for their eye to follow out to where he's looking. Perspective. Okay, use perspective to gain perspective. Here's some examples. Here's this pink lake. I'm shooting it from the ground. Okay, all right, whatever. So much better. Other examples in my work. So I shot this for Inner West Council Mardi Gras, 5 years ago. And I hated the shot. I was so not happy with it. They were raising the flag. And I was just like, oh my God, I did such a bad job. So I'm down on the ground. I'm shooting up at the town hall. Oh, it sucks. Worst photo ever. So the next year, I knew better. So what did I do? I laid on the ground upstairs on the balcony with them. And they're standing in between my legs and I shot it from underneath. Change your perspective. Again, a really beautiful wedding shot, right? Nice. Oh my God, they're so gorgeous. I get down lower and I shoot up and I cut off their legs and I get rid of all this ugly stuff in the bottom. I change my perspective. We get a way cleaner shot. Use people and things for scale. This is a huge one, especially shooting landscapes and travel photography. Like, if those people aren't in it, I have no idea about the size and breadth of the landscape. That's why I use Etta a lot, and Bandit and Sean. I use them a lot in my work so that I can give scale to it. You just saw that shot, but Etta gives scale. If Etta's not there, you got no idea what you're looking at. You don't know it's from the sky. Again, Etta giving scale. Sean giving scale. Color. This is a huge thing. Learn how to control your color to what your color palette is. That's a personal decision about what your color palette is. I find a lot of people over-processing their work, oversaturating, boosting certain colors way too much to the realm of impossibility, and it looks terrible. You might think it looks great. It doesn't. It looks terrible. So it becomes too overwhelming, and it can absolutely distract from your story. So here's just some little tips. Top 6 editing mistakes. Oh my God. Oversaturation, number 1. Over-sharpening, number 2. Please stop doing this. Too much noise reduction makes your images look muddy and disgusting. Noise is okay. Just add a bit of grain over it and it doesn't look so digital. too much clarity or overuse of HDR. This looks bad. This is over. Stop doing it. Only making global adjustments. So if you're only making global adjustments, you've got to start learning how to use your masks, how to use your radial, how to use your gradient tools. You got to. Because just making global adjustments, you're limiting yourself so much. And obviously, overprocessing. Keep it simple. Less is always more. Consistency in editing. Like I spoke about in the beginning. From shoot to post-production, be consistent. Think to yourself, does this editing enhance or distract from the subject? Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Garbage in, garbage out. If it was a bad photo to start with, it's a bad photo at the end, no matter how you edit it. If it was bad light, can't do anything with it, the composition's bad, it's never going to be good. Forget it. It's not happening. And when you're editing, don't compare too much backwards and forwards to your RAW, as your adjustments will always look too intense because RAWs are super flat. And if you're not shooting RAW, you should be. You'll have way more control. Have perspective and come back. Like I was saying, how do you edit 12,000 photos? I do, the starring, and then I go back and edit, and then I come back the next day and I look at it again and I make more adjustments. Some don'ts. When you're shooting people in a community environment, trying to tell a story or like a wedding, don't be too invasive, loud, or controlling. Don't overprocess your images. We talked about that. And don't do what everyone else is doing. So this is a screen grab from the Instagram account InstaRepeat. Do not do what everyone else is doing. Just because it's a trend doesn't mean it's a good one. Why do you want your work to look like everyone else's? Be original. So yeah, that's kind of it. So you can follow me on Insta at Sounds Like Mez. And obviously Etta has an Instagram at Etta's Travels. I'm going to answer some questions and then I might show you something else. Shauno, questiones.
So we have one technical question from Paul.
Technical question from Paul.
Yeah, he asks, do you shoot HDR and also do you do any focus stacking?
No, I don't shoot HDR and I don't do focus stacking. Focus stacking looks pretty cool. I'm into the idea. I just don't particularly do it. I definitely don't HDR. I don't do HDR. It is not in my style to have an image that looks HDR. It's just not. If I want a broader subject brightness range that I can't get on digital, I will shoot film. I will shoot medium format film. So no, I don't.
That's all we have at the moment.
Oh, wasn't there? Oh, is that it?
Well,
Was there any earlier ones?
two were related to
what?
things that you've already mentioned.
So I've answered some of the questions.
So, accidentally.
Oh, I love that. So if anyone has any more questions, chuck them in now because I'm going to show you one more thing before we go. So yeah, get your questions in now before we go. So what do you do with a body of work this huge? I just told you I shot 12,000 photos. Probably 8,000 are usable. Well, you have an exhibition, you offer prints, you make a book. These are all things that you can do with a huge body of work. What's the point in shooting the body of work if no one's going to see it? So I'm actually working on a book and I am going to show you just quickly what it is kind of going to look like. Transition. Okay. So this is the book I'm kind of working on, Etta's Travels, obviously. So it kind of, here's like the contents page. It kind of goes through our journey. It goes through a lot of the backstory about how we got the Kombi, our friends who we've made because of the Kombi, rebuilding the engine. So this is sort of the layout and I'm starting to write it all now. So this is one way you can turn a large body of work into something interesting. Or like I said, I'll probably end up doing some kind of exhibition. But at the moment, that's obviously not possible. So I'm just focusing on writing this book while we're all in the lockdown. And yeah, this is kind of like the vibe of what it's going to be like. And I'm going to poach it to publishers or I will self-publish. We'll see. But I think that, if you're going to shoot a huge body of work that you're proud of, you should make it into something. You should exhibit it. You should print. You should make a book, even if it's for just yourself. You need to get it off the computer and the ones and zeros and make it into something tangible, because that's what photography is. You know, it's not just ones and zeros. It has to be something tangible. We need to print more, and we need to create more artistic pieces of work that aren't just on the screen, because that's just one way to experience art. So yeah. Any questions? 2 questions. Whoa. Okay, so Jim says, do you do much black and white? Okay, that's so weird, because like I just showed you like so many photos and none of them were black and white. I pretty much, if you go to my website, which you're on now, I shoot a lot of black and white. I didn't really shoot any black and white film on this trip, and I haven't converted anything to black and white. When you're out in the Australian landscape, you sort of realize, okay, that's like, yeah, it might look cool, but it's color all the way. Just the colors are so amazing. But I probably will end up converting some of them to black and white. But no, most of what I shoot is usually black and white. A lot of documentary stuff I do, film stuff, usually black and white film. I love black and white. Did you ever get towed? Never. Didn't break down once. Jen, didn't break down once. We had a moment in Cape Le Grand. Yeah, ask me Kombi questions if you want to. We had a moment in Cape Le Grand where the headlights stopped working. That was interesting. We ended up Jimmy rigging a fix on that, bush mechanics. And in Kununurra, we had to replace a tie rod, which we got sent from Perth. So I put a fry pan on the stove underneath the oil sump in the morning to get it to thin out so we could start the engine. That was funny. But yeah, other than the roof rack collapsing and someone rear-ended us in Port Lincoln, minor scratch, it's all been fixed. That was kind of it. Like, she started every morning. She was just like the best car ever, and we were really proud of ourselves, weren't we, Shawnu?
Jen likes hard questions.
What is your favorite camera? I absolutely do not have a favorite camera. I probably have favorite lenses. So I really like the 135 f2 Canon L series. I really love that at the moment. And I really love my M42 mount, my Pentax 50mm 1.8 that I use on my film camera. They're probably my 2 favorite lenses. But no, I shoot so many different cameras most of the time that I don't really have a favorite. What? How many liters of fuel did you use on the trip? Oh my God. Did we calculate that? 22,400 kilometers divided by, okay, well, I'll tell you what our fuel efficiency was. It was 12 liters to every 100 Ks. So there you go. You can work that out from 22,400. Yeah, someone worked that out. How do you keep a consistent color palette? So this has been something that I've struggled with for many years. Now I just feel like I've kind of figured it out. I used to use my polarizer a lot, and everything would be super saturated, and I actually don't like that kind of color. So I guess from my personal taste, I just kept playing with my editing styles until I found something that I really liked, which is like, dull highlights a lot of the time, pink, orange, yellow kind of pastel-y colors. But yeah, you just have to, work it out. It's like you got to shoot and you got to edit and, re-edit the same image, make virtual copies, do it 5 different ways and see what you like. It's all like trial and error. Now I feel like, and then how you're happy with how you edit, you make presets so that you can stay consistent. That's how I stay consistent, is through presets and like ways that I go through with my edits. I'll always start by making it flat, camera neutral, color profile. Then I add some contrast in after that, and then I mess with the colors of how I like. But I kind of believe that what you like personally as a color palette is probably determined by your ancestry and what you like to do and where you live. So that's going to be different from everyone, but the best way to figure it out is through trial and error and editing. Just keep practicing and learning different techniques. Would you go on another trip around Australia? Like, absolutely. So we have to still do Queensland. Like, we did Tassie a couple of years ago. We still have to do, Queensland and the top end, because we couldn't really take Bandit to the top end. So yeah, like, yes, we still have the other half to do. Maybe when this virus is over, we might consider it. Anything else, Shauno?
I don't think so.
I think that's it. If you have any more questions after the fact, just feel free to email me. You're on my website. You can go to the contact details. If you like any of my work, you can buy it. Up the top, you'll see buy prints, or down the bottom, you'll see buy prints. I've got some stuff available there at the moment. I should be getting more stuff up in the next couple of weeks, as I've got to make an income now that I can't shoot outside. So yeah, if you want to buy, you can buy through my website. Also, I just want to reiterate that this was sponsored by MacArthur Photographic Society. So get onto their socials and give them a follow and check out what they're doing as a community. Okay, hold on. We've got one last thing. Did you review and edit any of your images whilst you were on the trip, or did you just shoot and enjoy the adventure? Well, okay, so what I did, so in my camera, I've got two chips, two memory cards. One is a Wi-Fi card. I shot this all on a Mark III? Yeah, on a 5D Mark III. Can't even remember the camera I used. And it doesn't have Wi-Fi, so I got a Wi-Fi SD card. And anything I really dug, I just flicked straight to my phone, and then I would give it a little edit in Snapseed. Snapseed is the best. Download Snapseed. It's free. Download it on your phone. It used to be Nick's software. Get it. It's so good. And then I would just put it on my Instagram, on Etta's Travels, because people were following our journey. I would just text it to my family. So yeah, I edited like on my phone a little bit, but I didn't they were just JPEGs. So when I got home, I uploaded it all, and then I started editing the RAWs. So no, I didn't edit on the trip. I just kind of wanted to enjoy it. A lot of the time I didn't even shoot. David says, proud of you not swearing. That must have been hard. And thanks for mentoring the club. Loved this format. Worked really well. Thanks, David. Thank you so much. It's been really weird talking to myself for an hour and a half, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, send me a DM, hit me up in the emails if you want to ask me anything. I'm willing to give advice. And huge one, I have a podcast. It's with my good friend and journalist, Toby Farage. It is called Click, Click, Bang, Bang, a photography podcast. Our socials are at CCBB Podcast, and our website is ccbbpodcast.com. It's a photography podcast. It's deep and meaningful. We get to the nitty gritty of things. It's really honest and it's very funny. There is a bit of swearing, but it's very, very good. Please give us a follow. And if you like us, please review us on iTunes and rate us. It really helps. We think we're doing something really different in the photography podcasting space. And hopefully we're going to have some really interesting guests. We're just kind of trying to work through the whole COVID sitch and get a whole online thing happening. So this has helped tonight. So yeah, check us out at CCBB Podcast. Give us a follow. Golden content. Golden. And sweet. Is that it? What are you showing me? Sean's showing me something.
Just say thank you to MacArthur.
Oh, you're hilarious. Thank you, MacArthur, for sponsoring this event. And I'll catch you guys around. Maybe we'll do another one of these. Oh my God, we should do this again. It's been great. All right. Peace out.